Hello and welcome to this 6-part series on how to get the most out of your glute training in the gym. We're going to go over different exercise selection. We're going to go over different elements that you need to take into account when you're planning your own glute training sessions, things you might want to look out for, some hints, some tips, some tricks to make sure you are growing your glutes to your best of your ability. First things first, before I do that, I just want to show you these because if you are serious about growing your glutes, if you're serious about improving the strength of your glutes and developing a well-rounded glute, you should probably be investing in some equipment like this. Now, I'm not sponsored by these. This has no impact on me whatsoever. The brand is irrelevant. You can get these for pretty cheap anywhere online really. But this is like an ankle strap. So it goes around your ankle. You'll have seen this before. Your gym will have it. But what you'll notice is something quite different about these ankle straps because these sit below your foot. So not only does the strap go around the ankle, this also actually goes underneath your foot. So when you're doing any kind of glute kickback, glute press down, some really effective exercises for training the glutes, this is going to be super, super comfortable and very stable and very safe. It's not going to like slide around and like come up your shin or anything like that. So in today's video, this first video here and now, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 functions of the glutes. What I'm also going to talk to you about is the 2 main muscles within your glute. There are more than 2, but if we talk about the 2 main functions within your glute, or the 2 main muscles, within your glute that you should be training, how that's going to help you get a more well-rounded glute, how that's going to help you to grow your glutes and hit different portions of the glutes, because I think that's really, really important. So by the end of today's video, you'll understand how the 3 different functions work and how to work the 2 separate muscles within the glutes to get the most out of your glute overall. Okay, so I talked about 3 different functions of the glute and I talked about 2 different muscles within the glute that are relevant to what we're going to talk about. So if we start with the 2 muscles in the glute, the first one is the glute max, which is kind of the chunky one that most people focus on, lunges, squats, that kind of thing. They're mainly going to be glute max. The other one is glute medius. So people are aware of the glute medius normally. They do some things to train the glute medius. It's mainly involved in things like abduction, so turning out of the leg. But we're going to talk about those 2 things, but we're also going to break down the glute max because the glute max is a big muscle and it's involved in kind of 2 functions really. The main function of the glute max, and I'm going to get Sophie to demonstrate here, is going to be hip extension. So basically taking the upper leg from here back to here. Now, that can be done in loads of different ways. If you think about like a squat, for example, that is still hip extension because you're taking the upper leg backwards. It's going behind you. So it's still going from here to here. The easiest way to demonstrate this is going to be a glute kickback because it is literally hip extension and hip extension only, and it's only really the glute that's involved in it. So hip extension for the glute max is where we'll start. So if I get you to brace yourself against there, just perform me so you put your left hand on here for me. If I just get you to perform me a standard glute kickback for the glute max to start with, and we'll adjust it as we go if we need to. Cool, so do me a couple of reps in there. Wicked, so you see here, she's taking the leg from in front of her to behind her, squeezing the glute at the back. That's hip extension. So that's the first function of the glute max. So if you just stand still for me there for a second. So if we wanted to change this and get some more of the upper glute max, so this is going to be more of the lower glute max. Main function, but more of the lower glute max. If we wanted to get some more of the upper glute max, one simple change that Sophie could make is include a little bit of external rotation. So turning her femur outward slightly. So if you perform exactly the same thing as you just performed there, but turn your foot outward slightly while you perform it. So exactly the same, nothing else changes. Perform that exercise again for me. So still hip extension, but with that slight external rotation, if I just get Sophie to pause there for a second, you can put your foot on the floor. So if I get Sophie to stop there, the upper fibers of the glute max actually run a little bit around the hip here. So as she starts to externally rotate that, she gets some of the fibers that are running around the top of the hip here. The lower fibers run vertically most of the time. So the lower fibers sit under and attached to the back of the legs, kind of where the hamstring is. So the lower fibers run vertically, the upper fibers run vertically slightly, but also slightly horizontally and around the hip. So by adding in that little turn here, what we've done is fire up the upper glute max fibers. So we've got both of those variations will train the glute max in one way. One slightly more lower glute max, one is slightly more upper glute max. The other function of the glutes is the other muscle. So that's going to be the glute medius. So if we want to train the glute medius, what Sophie needs to do is come more from inwards to outwards, so like across the body. So for example, Sophie, if you just turn yourself to face more towards the camera, and what Sophie's going to now do is allow that foot to drift across the body and then outwards. Now, what you're going to know she's not going to do, and a coaching tip for you here, is we're not going directly outwards here, okay? That actually starts to take some of the work away from the glute medius. To hit the glute medius properly, we want it to be almost diagonal. So the foot will come across, but it's also going to go out and back. So across and in front and then out and back. So if you can try and perform that for me, I'll coach you through it. Perfect. Cool, so you can see how that's coming across the midline of the standing foot and then out, and you should be feeling that in a different place now, yeah? So more on the outside, cool. So Sophie's feeling that more on the outside there because that's abduction, the third function of the glutes and the prime function of the glute medius. Okay, so I mentioned not standing completely sideways on and doing abduction completely. If you just brace yourself. I'm not doing abduction completely out to the side here. Now, it's not that that's going to be no glute medius and it's not going to train the glutes at all, like it will, but what we have to consider here is what else is getting involved. Now, we're getting a bit of TFL, which sits on the side of the hip here as well. Again, it's not all TFL and it's not all glute medius. It's just a little bit less glute medius than if we have a semi-diagonal angle. So Sophie, if you just turn yourself again to slightly semi-diagonal, so that's it. So we're going to train the glute medius. And then as she's coming across the body and out, it's more like out and back rather than just out to the side. So we're getting, so turn yourself a little bit more, sorry. Let me get out of your way. That's it. So across the body and now kick out towards me. And here, this is now out and back rather than just out to the side, which would involve quite a lot of TFL work. Okay, so that was part one of the 6-part series on how to train your glutes. On the next video, I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit more about how to grow the glutes specifically, not just how to use the functions and the muscles, but how we can actually maximize those functions and those muscles to help them to grow faster than maybe just guessing and throwing exercises at it. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today, you can find me on Instagram at Body Composition Coach. I also offer one-to-one coaching. You will find all the information for that in the link on my bio on Instagram. So just go there, click the link, and everything you need to know is there.